the dishonor associated with South Korea. One of them is that Korea ranks among the top in average annual working hours within OECD countries. You might think, what? Does that mean we work 30 to 40 minutes more each day than the average? But in reality, it's not that simple to make a direct comparison. That's because these figures also include the working hours of self-employed individuals and part-time workers. In general, when the proportion of long-working self-employed individuals is high, the average hours worked per person tend to increase. Conversely, when the proportion of part-time workers is high, the average hours worked per person tends to decrease. So, by estimating working hours under the assumption that the employment composition of self-employed, part-time, and full-time workers is identical across 30 OECD countries, the gap in annual working hours between countries significantly decreased. Korea's numbers also saw a noticeable reduction, didn't they? With this adjustment, the gap between Korea's annual working hours and the OECD 30-country average decreases from 264 hours to 181 hours. The reason for this significant gap is that when the proportion of self-employed individuals among the total employed increases by 1 percentage point, annual working hours rise by about 10 hours. Conversely, when the proportion of part-time workers increases by 1 percentage point, annual working hours decrease by approximately 9 hours. This means that annual working hours will vary depending on the composition of employment types. In Korea, the proportion of self-employed individuals has continuously decreased, while the share of part-time workers has recently shown a noticeable increase. These changes in employment composition have been found to contribute to approximately 33% of the reduction in working hours in Korea. Even without differences in employment composition, the gap in annual working hours between Korea and other OECD countries is still around 181 hours. It's not a small difference. How can we address this issue?
자영업자와 시간제 근로자 비중의 영향을 고려하더라도 여전히 한국의 근로시간은 다른 OECD 국가들에 비해서는 다소 긴 편으로 추정됩니다. 따라서 비효율적인 장시간 근로를 초래하는 불합리한 임금 체계나 제도가 있는지 면밀히 살펴보고 개선할 필요가 있겠습니다. 또한 우리나라의 시간제 근로자의 비중이 비교적 작다는 사실은 향후 근로시간 정책 방향에 있어서도 시사하는 바가 있습니다. 지금까지의 근로시간 관련 정책이 전일제 근로자의 장시간 근로를 규제하는 데 집중했다면 앞으로는 유연 근로 등을 활성화함으로써 근로자들의 근로시간 선택권을 확대하는 데 초점을 둘 필요가 있습니다. 근로시간을 유연하게 선택할 수 있는 근로 형태가 확대될 때 향후 우려되는 저출생 고령화로 인한 노동력 감소에 대응하는 데도 도움이 될 것으로 기대됩니다.